How to find the right woman in 2026. What are some of the habits that need to be left behind? What are some of the things that we as men need to do? So, just wanted to do a quick video. We're now into the new year, and I think it's always important to do an assessment of where we're at, to think about the things that we want out of life, the things that we need to be doing, and just taking an overall assessment of where we are related to where we want to be. And so, when we talk about relationships, when we talk about forming a bond with someone that could lead to marriage and lead to next steps, what does that person look like? Like, if you were to just take a moment and think about what that person is that you want, the person that you want to grow with and potentially grow old with and really take things to that next level, what does that person look like? What are their characteristics? Who are they? Now I want you to do something different. I want you to think about, who do you need to become to attract that person? Who do you need to become as a man to set yourself up to be with that person that you want to be with, to be with that woman, right? So just want to talk a little bit about some habits. And I'm gonna be honest, some of these are some things that I personally can speak on because they are things that I had to change myself. And some of them are things, even after a man that's now been married for 12 years, I continue to have to work on and work to change. So one of the things that we need to leave behind in last year and change going into 2026 is to stop comparing ourselves to other men and stop comparing our lives to other people's. And I've talked about this on another video, but a lot of times we get caught up in what we see other people doing. We get caught up in seeing other relationships. We might have a friend that's married, or you might have a friend that's in a relationship, and you think what they have with their girlfriend, that's what you want. And we're always looking at just what other men are doing. Other people financially, they might be in a certain space that we want to be in. There's so many different comparison games that we play with ourselves, and we end up putting ourselves in a bad position when we do this, because mentally now we're focused on what everyone else has, and so we're no longer even thinking about what God has for us and where we're supposed to go when we're focused on everyone else's race, because that's not our race to run, right? So we got to be very careful. The comparison trap is real, so we got to just leave that behind. Like, going into the new year, do you, like, focus on your life, focus on running your race, focus on the goals and whatever it is that God has for you to be doing, right? And when we start to focus on that, it begins to open us up to where we can now have the kind of relationship that we want, the kind of relationship that we're supposed to have, because now we're not focused on trying to meet someone else's standard and live their life. We're focused on being our best selves. Another thing to leave behind, and this might be a little controversial, I'm just going to say it, but there are a lot of opinions people have about relationships, in particular about marriage. So we have to be very careful with the media and the advice that we consume. Okay. I'm seeing a big trend now where there's just these gender wars, right? And it's been going on for years. I mean, I won't get into specific names of who I believe started what trend and the different factions and all that, but it just is what it is. There are a lot of women calling out men, saying that there are no good men out here, and making, videos about their terrible husbands or their terrible exes. And then you got guys out here making a lot of videos and talking about how terrible women are, and all the good women are taken and these women are trifling and this and that. And you have all of this content that you might be listening to this right now, and you might be consuming a lot of that. You might be hearing a lot of that, and without realizing it, it's impacting the way you view relationships. It's impacting the way you view women, because now when you go out on a date, or now when you meet somebody for the first time, all of those things are in the back of your mind. The eyes and ears, I'm going to mess up the verse, but there's a verse in the Bible, and it talks about basically what you take in with your ears and what you watch with your eyes. Those are the windows to the soul, right? So the things we consume, the things that we take in, are so, so key. I know this personally. I'm going to tell you right now, I know that when I watch certain movies or watch certain TV shows, or when I listen to certain music, in particular music for me, I would say, like, if I listen to certain music that's from a certain time back in my life, like pre-marriage, pre-relationship, all of that, it takes my mind to another place. It takes my mind to mentally and emotionally where I was in my 20s. And I was a very different dude in my 20s, right? So the things that we consume, we got to be very careful in terms of habits going into this year. Make sure that you are taking in positive content. Make sure that if you're trying to meet the right person, the person you want to spend your life with, when you're listening to advice about marriage or guys are talking about relationships, it's in a positive light. It's painting women in a positive light. It's painting women in a light to where, okay, this is somebody that's actually been through where I'm trying to go. This is someone that actually wants to see me succeed in a relationship, not somebody that's just going to down talk women. And that's the whole purpose, right? So make sure you are careful with what you consume. Another thing we got to do, guys, is we have got to take care of our appearance. All right. Let's just be real. A person's heart and a person's kindness and their character and who they are as a person is very important. It is very important into a relationship. But another thing that's very important is physical attraction. Okay, let's just be honest about it, right? Like men, we are very visual, and a lot of times we'll talk about certain standards we have for the woman that we want to date or want to connect with. So one thing that's very important is, as men, because we are very visual and we typically, hey, we're visual. I'm just gonna leave it at that, right? Like you see a young lady that you like, a young lady that you're attracted to, and for us, what we see with our eyes, that is the first thing for a lot of men that attracts us to that person. But on the flip side of that, are we making ourselves visually appealing as well? Okay, so there are certain things here we just got to have some honest conversations. The foods that we eat, the amount of sleep that we're getting, our overall energy. Okay. So, for one, when it comes to like diet, there are a lot of ultra processed foods that we are eating every single day. If we're not drinking enough water, we're drinking a bunch of carbonated drinks, sodas, a bunch of fruit drinks that have high fructose corn syrup. On the sleep side of things, if we're getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, this whole mentality of, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to just keep hustling, keep working, keep working, and you're going to bed at 1, 2 in the morning and waking up at 7 or 8 to go to work, and like that has become the rhythm, right? We have got to get rest. We've got to get rest. Like it is very important, and it impacts the way that we physically look because when we are not getting rest, we look a lot more stressed, right? When we're not eating right, then it's going to impact our body. It's going to impact the way we look. It's going to impact all of those things. In general, in terms of our energy, okay, if we're walking around with anxiety, if we're walking around worried, if we're walking around stressed, and all of these things are going on mentally in our head and in our emotional space, that's going to come out in the energy we give off. So now, if you go up to meet a young lady and you've got all of these things on your mind, and you might have some past trauma that you're dealing with as well. Throw that on top of it. You're not eating right. You're not getting the right kind of sleep. The way you dress, okay, fashion, fellas, man, look, I'm not a fashion guru or anything like that, but I'm going to tell you, like, the way that you dress makes a big difference. How you smell, get yourself a good cologne, right? And by the way, with these things like clothes and cologne and all that, does not have to be expensive, okay? I do know with inflation and where we're at right now, prices are crazy. I get it. Like, things are very different. But you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars on this stuff, okay? You can get yourself a few nice shirts, get yourself some nice jeans if you want to go with more of a casual look if you're going on a date. If you want to go with, a little more formal, make sure you got a few good suits. Get yourself some reasonably priced good suits, all right? Get some good shoes to go with them. Like, make sure you got a few different things, different looks you can pull off. Because women look at these things too. Again, like men are very visual, but make sure that as a man, you're presenting yourself in a visual, appealing way as well. And the last one I'm going to say, guys, and very important, and honestly, the most important, and it's one that I am challenging myself this year to really take things to another level with, okay? But we have got to have an active prayer life and we have got to be in God's word, okay? So here's the deal. I know you might be watching this and you may not be a Christian, or, you might have had an experience with church that you view it a certain way where you don't trust church, you don't trust the Christian faith, and there are so many different ways that you could view what I'm talking about right now. And I acknowledge that and I get that. I will tell you, I went through a strong period, I went through a long period of deconstruction myself, where the whole way I grew up, being a Christian and learning Bible verses and going to Sunday school and all of that, I abandoned all that. After I left high school and then going into college and then in my adult life. And I had a lot of questions and I didn't feel like I had a lot of answers. But what I will say is now, as a 44-year-old man that's been married for over 12 years, there are certain things in life that you cannot get through on your own. There are certain situations that are going to happen to where you're going to look around and no amount of money, no amount of drinking, no amount of smoking, no amount of anything you could possibly do to escape is going to help. And in those moments, you need something different. And what I eventually learned is that a lot of the keys to life, a lot of the keys to peace, a lot of the keys to me getting into a better emotional space as a man and understanding my space better have already been documented and written down. They're in God's word. And so when I read the Bible now, I read it from a different perspective. I know I'm learning the character of God. I'm learning about what it means to live a life where I'm trying to be more like Jesus Christ. It doesn't mean I'm perfect because, man, look, y'all, like, I'm not. That's honestly one of the reasons I even created this channel, because I know there's a lot of guys out there. You might be one listening to this where you feel like you don't measure up, or you feel like you have to get to some level or space before you can even believe in God or take Christianity seriously or whatever. And I'm gonna tell you right now, like, you're never going to get there. Like, you're not going to be perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect. That's the whole purpose and the reason we need Christ as a savior, right? So when I began to understand that, there's a certain freedom that came with that, because now I know I don't have to be perfect in this life. I know that there will be times I will make a mistake, but every single day I'm trying to get better. So, like, when we get to that realization and we get to that point, now we're walking in purpose. We're walking as men in a different way. See, now when we meet a young lady or we meet somebody, the interaction is going to go the way it's going to go, either way that it goes, whether we approach somebody and they're interested, or we approach somebody and they're not interested, or we get into a relationship and it doesn't work out, and, you and the young lady break up. I lived through a number of breakups before I got married that were very, very hard, very hard. And at the time, I didn't have a leg to stand on. Like, spiritually, my life was in shambles, right? And had I known what I know now about the peace that comes with walking with Christ, man, my life just would have been so much better. So, I just, going into this new year, I want to make sure that if you're listening to this and if that is not something that you've been serious about, if, maybe you don't believe in God at all, maybe the things I'm talking about don't even make any sense to you, or maybe you're somebody that you did grow up like going to church, but you kind of strayed away from it, or maybe you're somebody that is in church actively and everything, but you just haven't quite found that person. I'm telling you, whatever your situation, when you begin to truly lean in and say, you know what, I want to learn more about God, I want to take this more seriously, and I want to try. That's what it's all about. It's just about trying. The more that you do that, you are going to walk in a new peace and a new purpose that you never knew you had. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to help you attract the right kind of person that really you should ultimately be with in the end. So listen, guys, I hope this helps somebody out there. Welcome to 2026. I hope it's going to be a good and prosperous year for you. And let me know in the comments, like, what are some habits that you want to leave behind going into this new year? What are some new things you want to do going into this new year? Some new habits you might want to pick up, things that you really feel could change your life for the better. All right. I really hope everyone has an amazing year, and I hope that you enjoy the content on this channel. I'm looking forward to continuing to provide content to just help guys out there in this relationship and in this marriage game. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you on the next one. Peace.